I know coming in there was some who were saying, should always be best of 3 when you're at a big tournament like this. I actually really enjoy that we've got a week of best of 1 where you're getting some crazy games like these. And the next week, you're then stepping into the best of 3s where it really comes down to brass tacks. Here we get even more excitement, no doubt. Let's get into the Banzo, the Thatcher being taken away by SSG to start proceedings.
Certainly are. Now, the flip side to that argument that I was making about, or sort of the additive really, to SSG, being on a potential good map for themselves here. I'm not necessarily thinking about how they've played it previously, but it's one again that MIBR are a little bit 50-50 on, Des. We look through the sites for them individually and there's no real sort of strongholds for them. I see that they are beatable everywhere on both attack and defence, so I think that SSG have got a real opportunity in front of them here. But I'm looking forward to seeing this Space Station team coming in today. I mean, we've got a couple of interesting bands there. Ying, Malusi, Wamai going by the by, Thatcher, Ra, reasonably expected. Space Station I'm interested to see, Des, because obviously we've seen them twice and there was some big moments for them, but I feel like they're yet to be sort of thoroughly tested, and I'm looking forward to seeing them up against some of these really top sides now that everybody's had a couple of days to warm up, running, get used to everything. I'm looking forward to seeing the world champs in action.
If you're asking some questions around that Ying ban as well, from a dig from SSG versus TSM on this exact map just a couple of days ago, guess who was running the Ying? It was SSG. Canadian specifically making use of the operator to do the dirty work for him. We've seen a couple of teams bring the Ying so far at SI, some to mixed results, timings often being the issue that I'm thinking of here. I think it was Cyclops who were attacking the top floor of Cafe, for example, smoking out all the cocktail. Candela's come raining in. And then 5 seconds later, the attack actually begins. A little bit mistimed, but clearly MIBR is saying we don't even want to worry about that in this match. So let's just get it off the board and play some conventional Siege without any gimmicks coming out of the Ying. However, we are seeing Rampy stepping up onto the Vigil. Whenever I see Vigil on this map, I always think of Citizen. Think back to his days on Na'Vi. Always used to run it whenever they were on the defense. Canadian coming along on the Mirror, and they're going to go for an extension inside of Penthouse and Theatre.
Always fascinating are the extensions into Penthouse and Theatre, because it becomes a real linchpin for the defence. It has to be cleared out, and if you're wondering why that area has to be cleared out, it's because otherwise you will be hit on the flank very, very easily. From Penthouse, you can move through the bottom of your screen, we've got luggage, or you could move through the top of the screen, which is VIP in the 90 corridor. Who have we got observing this one, Des? Do we know? Is it medics? We've got medics with us today, so thank you very much, medics. Christian, our producer Christian, very kindly telling me an area, so we don't have to ask medics to do the usual 360 spins.
Show that it's you by spinning 360 is what we used to say sometimes, yeah, and that would be the kind of go-to. Easy would just sit there static without moving. We're like, okay, it's easy, we've got it. Either way, yes, it is the boys and medics for this one. Let's see how they shape up on the attack out towards the east. You can say they've got a player hanging in behind it. Nade committed a couple of those ADSs earlier on behind that mirror window. Hoping to detract the sledge away with those nades, no doubt, come singing through. So you're looking maybe towards Philippox there to consume those ADSs for a nade to sing in and connect with a critical target.
Rampy's still on the underneath there, as to be expected. On the Vigil, he's just going to be using his gadget, which keeps him off the drones for as long as possible. Basically, when it is activated, any attacker drones that have him in sight will not see him. He is, for all intents and purposes, invisible. They will get the little white flashes at the top and bottom of the screen, letting them know that he is within a radius, but they won't know exactly where, forcing them to go in and face check. And when you don't know exactly where a player like Rampy is, that is a huge hindrance to you and a massive hamstring. There's potentially quick progress being made here by MIBR, getting themselves into that Penthouse and Theatre extension. So that's effectively a lot of utility taken off the board there, Des, for not much gain.
Well, inside 60 seconds, they had the mirror window blown out by the Habana. They were pushing their way through. The drones were back on. It's like it was more a minor inconvenience than on another map where you might see them held out for 2 minutes trying to clear out a particular area of the map. So I like that they started making this more rapid progress, but you can see Lukid still hold up inside a Penthouse Theatre here. You need to start thinking about that push across to the west. And also, where's your main point of ingress going to come from? Are you looking towards hookah? Are you looking towards billiards here? In which case, you need Aqua control. No doubt you're looking maybe towards cool vibes as well. And there was the control they needed inside of Aqua, quickly stolen away by Fultz and his magic C4.
Fultz will now move his way back up Cool Vibe stairs to get himself safely onto site. His job underneath is well and truly done. Rampy has also joined him, so it's a nice advantage now for SSG. 5 versus 4 coming into the final 40 seconds. It also just puts this little worm in the brain of MIBR here as they have to focus on the vertical and make sure there's nobody underneath them to try and prevent when a plant goes down. Now Lukid, he's looking to get aggressive now, pushing in from VIP. He needs to find himself a kill or two here, and that is exactly what he does. Here they go. Desfolds and Lukid join as well with one each. Philippox getting Diffuser down. We've got Rampy down. It's all up to Fultz coming back up the Cool Vibe stairs. 12 seconds left to go. Diffuser activated. Things don't get much worse for SSG here in round 1. Des as Fultz, he tries to find one from long range, will be unable. Starting to move in. He's thinking about potentially picking Rampy up. It is going to take about 5 seconds for him to do that, and with bullets raining in around him, it's not something that he can manage. Philippox had the down on Rampy, has the kill on Fultz, and that is a big opening round from MIBR.
Beautiful start to get things underway. A very slow start in the round, and we said, oh, you know, 60 seconds in, blown out the mirror window, have the East control that they need on the top floor. And as it wore on, we were like, okay, there's 70 seconds left, and Lukid's still inside the penthouse. When are they going to kick this up a little bit? They step into Aqua, get C4'd out, and then you're like, okay, boys, now it's time to really get serious about this. And then with the 20-second mark being hit remaining in the round, they just go for it. And our criticism against NIP, their opponents earlier on today, was leaving things till late in the round. MIBR leave themselves in a similar situation, but the coordination is on point, and SSG have zero response.
Heading in towards round number 2, then we will be looking at the downstairs site. SSG deciding that they do not want to try their luck in hooker and billiards again just yet. They're going to be heading down to kitchen and service. So what are we likely to see this time from the attackers? Well, there's still going to be a big focus upstairs. They're going to want to take control of that top floor more than likely, having a look across, and as expected, we see the sledge in the hands of Raps. So they want to get him in there and just utilise all that soft destruction, particularly in VIP, get opened up above the kitchen, into penthouse, open up above the service area and the bathrooms, and just try and get some vertical angles and a kill or two if they can. They need to be careful, of course, because those vertical angles do work in both directions, and you don't want to be losing people on the reverse. But for now, SSG seem to be setting up largely around Blue Bar and Sunrise as the extension out of sight, and then I think they've got a couple upstairs as well now then.
Cheeky.
The Jaeger there. Fultz getting very cheeky on the service door, looking for an early pick. He might get one. He might get one, Des.
Maybe a little bit hopeful, I was going to say. Yeah, the quick peek coming out from MIBR. No way he brings his man down there, and rightly so, doesn't stick around to commit. One to take away into your own games, no doubt, is when you've been spotted out in a spot like that. Don't stay there, as you're likely to get pre-fired or droned out or pinched. Lots of things can really come back to bite you. Keen to see how Readup makes use of these Twitch drones, by the way, and what the goal is going to be. Really, the only thing he's got to worry or concern himself with is the mute jammers, the ADSs, if he can find them, as well as the Valkyrie cameras, which can, of course, be dealt with by more conventional means, given they often aren't on the site. However, Reader says, you know what, Des? I don't care about the drones. I care about the F2. That's exactly why I'm playing this operator. Gets the opening kill onto Rampy on the Vigil.
Readup coming in with the best gun in the game there and putting it to use. I'm sure Canadian will know all about that one, Des. This time used to better effect than it was last time against him. So 5 versus 4 as Reduct opens things up for his Canadian. He's going to dip away, head back through security, look to move through main lobby and probably get himself back into the security of site for the time being. It looks like SSG have already got a player holed up inside of main lobby as well, which can be a very key area to defend in the downstairs. It cuts off a lot of the rotations in and around courtyard and makes it very difficult to play potentially inside of Blue Bar if that's something that SSG have opened up into courtyard, but possibly not for a kitchen defence.
Nah, doing the right thing as well, getting in there with those drones, parking it in the corner, and then getting back on the F2, ready to try and contest. It's Fultz picking up Fultz. All the Fs here in chat for that boy going down so fast. In one inside of office as well. Canadian goes to the drop at seemingly the exact wrong time as Lukid the Ludicrous pushes in underneath. That's 5 versus 2. 3 kills in the round for MIBR. And this one looking a little bit more pacey than the previous round, I think it's fair to say, Ace.
Certainly is. MIBR moving through and getting kills at will, but ThinkingNade, he starts to shut things down, doesn't know there's a second coming from security, and has absolutely no option other than to hair his way upstairs, but shut down by Fultz as he takes the drop onto the main stairs to try and get back to challenge into that main area. Now Bosco, he's looking to hold a tight angle onto the main door, but Fultz, he's not going to take the bait there. He moves away to that service entrance, and MIBR, they can start thinking about getting a diffuser plant down here. 3 versus 1. Fultz gets in through the kitchen window, will do exactly that as he looks to get it down, and that's unfortunate timing for Bosco as he decides to try and switch back to the primary, but will be shut down as his hands are empty moving through the doorway.
Perfect read by Reed up there as well. Just knew where he was coming from. Swung out at the perfect time with smoke canister in hand, and there's nothing more to be said about that one. Good rotate out by Fultz as well, acknowledging they had control of kitchen, but not so much of service entrance. So why the hell would you try and plant in the latter? Go instead for the former, play with the team, use the numbers advantage that you've got, and it comes out wonderfully. Great start so far by MIBR. SSG with the odd flurry of fight back in the first couple of rounds, but nothing that's going to really tickle your fancy and saying there's a round yet to be taken by them. We need to see something fresh coming out from them in round number 3.
And where will we be seeing that freshness, Des? We're going to be seeing it in Blue Bar and Sunrise. So once again, there is a little bit of importance here when defending on the top floor as well. You don't want, again, too many vertical angles opening up. That's one thing you've got to remember about Coastline, is that there is a lot of vertical play possible. Almost, Des, the entire upstairs is destructible. There's a few areas that aren't. There's the 90 corridor, for one. That is not a destructible surface. And there's also Hall of Fame. Thank you, medics. He knows where I'm going. And that is not a destructible surface either. Other than that, you can pretty much open up at your will.
Kitchen service, I know it was in the last round now, so it's kind of talking about an old site, but we will come back to it, so it's worth mentioning. Whenever I think of an example of what a retake looks like in this game, I always point to this site because of the vertical play that you talk about. Attackers take control of the top floor, start opening that floor up, and all the defenders on site scatter to the winds. No one wants to be caught inside a kitchen or service being blasted from above. They'll often step out into the more peripheral rooms and look to push back in once the attackers go for an execute. At least that's the way I'd say it plays out in the majority of situations. Of course, not every single team plays out that way, but we'll see if that becomes a thing later into the round. For now, what you're seeing is a shield coming down from Bosco, stationed on this door towards pool entrance, I believe that was. We've seen that a couple of times though, with ADS's stat there, with mute jammers parked there, both reinforcements on the pool entrance wall, and plenty of powerful shotgun plays from there. Remember Tex from Fnatic playing with the TCSG, doing some godly work, a 4K from that position in APAC last season.
The lines of sight that have been opened up on that top floor, the holes there in the hooker room walls through to billiards, it just opens it right up all the way through to aquarium, and it just makes it very difficult for the attackers to feel any sort of security, even when they've got themselves established in there. All it takes is one rotation up either set of stairs, and all of a sudden one of those defenders has likely got a nice clean line of sight. Fultz, he gets wraps into his sights and manages to shut him down with the headshot from the Alder, and here goes ThinkingNade moving up onto that top floor. And it's interesting, Des, I was going to pick up on the point that they haven't brought a Nomad or Gridlock along, and it's always a choice, of course, for attackers whether they want to bring them or not. But the thing about Coastline, if you're trying to take top floor control, there's only 2 staircases, there's only 2 ways back up. So if you force everybody downstairs, a Nomad can completely shut that off. You can play in almost complete safety up on the top floor, and very similar for a Gridlock as well. So MIBR choosing not to do that, and with the way ThinkingNade's just moving up and down, rotating between the 2 floors, it might be something that they could be looking back at as a possible option.
Like SSG have committed 2 roamers on the top floor, playing together off one another here as well, by the way. Just looking to constantly be that thorn in the side. As you mentioned, no Nomad does mean that they are free to be a bit more liberal with their pushes. Have to be mindful of drones, mind you. Get spotted out by one of those bad boys and you could find yourself in hell pretty soon after. And for Redux, he's looking completely the wrong way. Did not expect that push down the 90 hallway. And like that, it's 5 versus 3.
I could have got that kill, Des. Rampy with the freest kill that he will get all day there. And Fultz, he manages to get himself a second on the round before being traded out by Fultz. 4 versus 2 now, and SSG well on the way to their first successful round defending here on Coastline. We can see the pressure is sort of trying to be pushed onto them by the two remaining members of MIBR, but with one stuck in kitchen, he has a single doorway to fight through, and then Fultz is trying to move his way in from that pool entrance. Now, Lukid's aware that there's possibly a defender on Cool Vibes stairs there. Fultz goes aggressive there, straight over the bar, gets himself a kill, but Canadian, right place, right time for a double, closes out the round, and that's SSG getting themselves on the board. 1-2 now.
Great choice to step out and go for the peek onto the Habana as well. You know that she's only got 19 rounds in that primary, and guess what? When she's killed someone, chances are she's gone through the good chunk of those, and likelihood can't kill 3 of you with a single clip. Would be mighty impressive if she could. But like you say, it's the first round on the board for SSG. Good roaming on the top floor. MIBR, you'll ask a couple of questions about their ability to close that one down, knowing that they were playing in theatre for the first 100 seconds or so of the round. At the 1 minute 19 seconds mark, we still saw the two of them inside of theatre. So some questions to ask on that front. In round number 4, SSG stepping over to what has kind of risen back into prominence here, the Mute and the Mozzie, no doubt a meta in which they really thrive. They seem to have struggled a little bit during the Jaeger and the Wamai meta, paired up with the Goyos, the utility meta, as we came to call it. But the more information blackout style play with the Mute and the Mozzie, it's getting swapped away, so it kind of completely defeats my point here. I was going to say it's more where we see SSG really start to reign.
I love it when the players do that to us. When
they just have you on.
When we go for that initial operator pick, and you're like, yeah, this is what they're probably going to be doing, and then the 6th pick out one of the real key elements of it, and it's like, oh well, you've had your explanation, I guess.
Yeah, I imagine on the side of SSG though, you're thinking, well, teams expect us to run the Mute and the Mozzie, given again it was our sort of strength in the meta. So that changing for the Valkyrie. Let's see how long those Valkyrie cameras can be of good use. I didn't see many of them picked up by the Twitch drones in the couple of rounds ago by Read Up when he was playing on the Twitch pat then. So some questions to see if they are of any big use. More getting those placed down for now. Rampy still got a couple in back pocket. One about to get yeeted up to the roof.
He's just waiting for medics to move off him.
He doesn't want to.
He's got a 6th sense. Medics is spectating at the minute. He's just trying to keep that one under wraps.
Keep it secret.
He's thinking, I'm going to tease just until the action phase, because I know then that he'll have to move away onto one of the attackers.
That's it. The man's big brain is analysed not other teams, but the way the observers show what it is that you're up to. Now they're playing the Chaseroo game to try and get rid of one of these Twitch drones, and they will be removed. Redux still with one in the back pocket. And of course with those smokes on Twitch now after they were changed out for the flashbangs not too long ago. Have always had that as an option. And I think it was Demo who commented earlier on to me, he said, man, we've seen so much thermite now those smoke changes have come in, and he's absolutely right. Teams I think have got very used to playing with Ace when he had the 2 smokes on side, recently taken away. So much so that you don't want to lose those. You want to have them on side still to be able to smoke off those certain angles, to be able to make pushes a little bit safer. Lots to consider. And down goes the 2nd of those shock drones.
I mean, it's making my life a little bit easier, Des. I don't keep thinking that people are shouting of me when we're casting games. It's a lot easier.
Ace goes crazy, you're like, did I?
No, I'm not. I'm just stood here, I promise. But we can see the pressure coming in from MIBR. It's all around the hooker balcony mostly at the minute. There's now Bosco manages to drop one and finish him off. That's Read Up gone. 5 versus 4. Opening frag once again to SSG, but traded out as Fultz finds one onto ThinkingNade. Looks for another and finds it in the blue bar. Fultz shut down, and that is 2 underneath taken out. Des, that could be a really big play there, because we've seen Fultz already using that nitro underneath. They've still got a couple left. They've got the one on Rampy, which they don't have anymore, as it won't connect.
Boy!
Andy gets killed afterwards. It leaves Canadian with only explosives in hand to be able to shut down a potential plant attempt. And at 4 versus 2, you got to think that's going to appear at some time soon.
Rampy knew he was there with the way that he jumped over, vaulted, stared straight towards pool entrance, and it feels a bit strange that you'd have 3 people die to the same angle being held by Fultz. Incredible round from him so far, enough to put them into a 1 versus 3 as Bosco goes down at the same time. It's all on Fultz, falls and wraps to bring it down against the old hammer-raising individual from SSG from last year. Plant is going down. I don't see a way in which you can stop this one, to be honest with you, Ace. Has a C4 on side, but everyone is long gone, my friend. That diffuser was down 2 or 3 seconds prior.
It's a second too late from Canadian there. It was the absolute perfect throw. He put it on a coin at the other side, but he will be shut down as he tries to make his move to find those kills that he needs. That's Canadian taken out. Always a difficult situation for him, 1 versus 3 there. Great cover in place from MIBR, and a nice attack from them, Des. They knew exactly what they were doing. They stacked up on that hooker deck, and they just burst through the lines of defence, got their kills and got the diffuser down exactly where they wanted to. And that's a little bit unusual, to be fair, from the attacking side. We see an absolute massive amount of plants going down in the billiards side of the site, but to go in through that single door into hooker, a little less common.
All right, back down to kitchen and service. We were talking about it earlier on as the great example of what a retake site looks like. Can't imagine here you'll see too much played out wildly differently, but you can see the intent orchestrated in the picks coming out of MIBR, the Buck and the Sledge. Remember, for the longest time when that was the go-to back when Buck had his frags, rest in pieces, whereas now it more stands in a space where we have the two of them being brought along purely for the sole purpose they're designed for, looking instead just towards that vertical destruction. The Buck obviously having the advantage of being able to go up as well as down, and also being a little bit safer is the other way of looking at it, which I think is where you get the uniqueness between those two operators. Some might say, oh, well, why would you ever pick put Buck over Sledge now? Sledge has got frag grenades. It is absolutely that piece of you can blast holes in the floor a little bit further away, you're at range, less risk of being C4'd maybe, often see them used in things like Cafe, where you might want to be able to open up some of the mining floor while standing on the concrete to the side, makes your risk of getting C4'd considerably less.
Round number 5 then, once again there's a presence inside a penthouse and theatre from Space Station. I'm yet to see it have a massive impact. We saw the two roamers successful from there, but ThinkingNade, he didn't start up there, he moved up the main stairs and just happened to move through that area. Where they've actually applied utility and tried to prevent MIBR taking that area of the map, we haven't really seen them too successful with it so far. Now, Reduct is going route 1 towards site here, opening up that kitchen window and just cutting off an angle of rotation for the defenders. We can see it could well be a rush in through the service entrance door. Out comes the Toxic Babe canister, but as Bosco tries to get away from that wonderfully thrown nade, he gets picked up with shots to the back for Epox Falls, finding kills for themselves as well. Reduct able to move in quickly as part of that rush and start getting the diffuser down. Now, it's all down to SSG to try and turn this around. 2 versus 4, Rampy and Fultz. They need to find kills, they need to find them quickly.
Fantastic attack coming out from MIBR, hit with absolute pace and leave SSG completely bewildered as one man shoots from one direction, the wall behind you explodes, grenades go off, and you've got no idea where to look. Rampy all alone upstairs and isolated. I know I spoke about getting off site and playing for the retake. This isn't really what I had in mind. He's got 10 seconds to kill 3 and get the defuse off. It's quite simply not going to happen. But again, need to give a big lean back to MIBR there for an excellently orchestrated rush, and one that has caught SSG completely aware. 4-1 to MIBR.
MIBR flying at the minute, but we have to remember they are on the attack, which does tend to see a little bit of a favour here on Coastline. The defenders not always too keen on trying to lock down those sites, but a 5-1 half, even then, Des, would still be a bad start for SSG here. It will give an absolute mountain to climb, trying to come back with only the wiggle room of effectively 1 mistake. 2 mistakes would be enough to close out the game for them. So their final defensive round then is going to be coming in at Hooker and Billiards once again. Now, they weren't particularly close last time around, as we remember the push came from MIBR onto the Hooker balcony. I'm not sure that they'll go down that road again because they may feel that it's a little expected. They did a very good job of clearing out the roamers from underneath. I think 3 of the kills actually came downstairs, even though it was a top floor site. So I think, first of all, SSG, they need to make sure that if they're playing men downstairs, they need to survive for longer. It's about wasting time. Get a pick or 2 if you can, but realistically, you need to keep yourself alive. Now, interestingly, they've opened up the bottom of Blue Bar wall there, which is what I was speaking about. It allows you to hold that area from the main lobby. So you've got a line of sight then all the way through. You can rotate through. You can use this courtyard a lot more. So we may well see SSG trying to hold on to the main lobby area, thus allowing them to keep sort of both sides of the downstairs locked down to a degree. But it all depends on where that MIBR push comes in from. My guess is they'll try this time to get control of Office, which is underneath Aquarium. Thank you very much, medics. So they'll try and get this southwest corner under control, both the lower floor so they don't get
oh no,
and Aquarium. That's not ideal when you're trying to get control of anywhere, Des.
Unfortunate. These things happen.
It happens.
It shouldn't, but it does. It's just the way. Oh, nice Redux switching back over. I remember speaking to Goner actually from Kavana about this. I asked him, you love playing Buck. Why are you so obsessed with Buck over something like Sledge? And he actually said a big factor of it is the horizontal destruction. The fact that you can open a wall, switch to your gun, and you're ready to fight pretty much straight away, whereas Sledge has to recover from the animation of swinging that sledgehammer. And I think there you're seeing it come into full effect. Blast the wall open, switch back over to the primary, and there you go. There's someone on the other side ready to be taken down. Great entry coming out of Redux.
2 minutes left on the clock then, 4 versus 4. MIBR managing to level things up, and SSG pretty static in and around site at the minute, just waiting for the attack to come. Fultz, he's going to hold down a tight angle. That angle looks through, if you're wondering where that goes to, it's the top of Cool Vibes stairs. Now, as you can see, it's a popular area to be played. Bosco just holding himself in there at the minute, and really, he is pinned in here. If he tries to move across, Fultz will be testing his reflexes to see if he can hit that shot or not, but Bosco, he knows exactly what the score is and holds himself in place, and then just quick burst of energy, burst of movement, across he goes to safety.
Alrighty. That's one of the more balanced rounds, dare I say. We've had dead silent rounds up until the final 60 seconds or so. Rounds where MIBR would find a couple of kills, and rounds where SSG would just pop off in the late round and kill 3 or 4 and win the round from there. Here it's that 1-for-1, definitely helped along by the team kill that came out at the start, but balance is still the name of the game. See Rampy trying to get a little bit cheeky on the jump out, but for MIBR, I think being a little more composed about their starting point here. Starting out with a little bit of utility clear, getting rid of those evil eyes. You've got smokes coming in, everything's starting to rain through. The question now stands is, when does the execute come out? Because by the looks of it, SSG ain't shifting.
Well, this isn't going to go as well at the minute for MIBR. They need to get themselves some kills. They are going for that hooker plant again, Des. They've completely ignored the southwest corner. I had a sneaking suspicion that they might try to work from Aqua, but not this time. Bosco, he gets one on a close angle with a shotgun, but Canadian has been down. Now, that is easy street for SSG, as ThinkingNade finds 2 on Cool Vibes. Rampy finishes things off onto Fultz, and MIBR, Des, just didn't have the teeth that they did last time. They attacked into hooker and billiards, where they found those 3 early kills, and they found out what happens and why a lot of teams try to push in from Aquarium instead if they're going to be going against 4 or 5 defenders.
A little bit too easy for Nade there, I think. Like you say, they start storming up the stairs, you hear a shot or two, it's like, oh, there's guys pushing up.
Such a tight area is Cool Vibes stairs. There's nowhere to move to get away from the shots.
Very commonly, you see teams come pushing down the 90 corridor instead. At least there you've got someone you can back away to a bit more comfortably. But even down the stairs, because of the spherical style of the smoke canisters, chances are you're still going to eat a whole bunch of smoke on the way back, so you have to press forward. And Nade just swings out. They were completely unaware that he was there. A quick 2K, and then a final kill comes in elsewhere across the map. 4 and 2.5 in that case. Not bad for MIBR on the attack for sure, but SSG are going to be looking for some magic here in the second half.
Well, this is it. On those Cool Vibes stairs, you don't even really have to aim. You do pre-fire as you go around the corner and just, you know, hope that the likelihood is it's such a small area that your bullets are going to find somebody. And in that case, they managed to find 2. So we've just got a short technical pause going on, I think. It looks like we've got ourselves into game nicely now, so we will continue on. 4-2 to 4-2 to MIBR at the minute. SSG coming on to their attack now, Des. 6 rounds to turn this around. They need to, for me, make a good start here. They need to be finding themselves a round or 2. They don't want to find themselves 5-2 down. I think against a strong LATAM side like MIBR, that would be very costly.
Look at the difference in comp styles that they've already brought along here, by the way. For SSG, the Lion, the Yana, the Jackal, even the IQ, you might say, what are they all engineered towards? Is that information game. So rather than leaning into wars like the Habana that we saw coming out and the Buck and the Sledge, they're leaning very heavily into these roamer, I suppose, controlling operators that I'm hoping should mean that for the members of MIBR, they might find themselves a bit pressed by SSG early in the round or even later on to the stage that they won't be able to cause any nasty surprises. You saw this kind of crouch hold punched out in the Aquador, and I thought someone might try and get a little bit cheeky, but I think they've instead backed away and opted not to go too aggressive.
Perhaps getting a nice camera outside there. I might have to take that one away with me, Des. Just knocking out part of the aquarium barricade and just popping his head out up onto that wall, and it just gives a nice view out onto ruins. A lot of the exterior areas can be watched by those Valkyrie cameras here on Coastline. Now, ThinkingNade's got himself up to the rooftop. He's going to look to just apply a little bit of pressure, and the main focus, the main job that you can perform up there on the rooftop is, of course, cutting down rotations. You can see into luggage, you can see into the top of the sort of Cool Vibes stairs area, and just shut down the defenders from being able to move around too much.
Some teams love bringing along a Habana here and opening up as much as they can the quad wall that looks in towards site, restricts the movement of the defenders. Redux being restricted somewhat by the frag, takes a bit of a poke down, almost manages to get trade back onto the Yana. Canadian down to a slither of HP, but Redux is caught in a horrible crossfire from the south window, goes down to Rampy. Good start to the round, but as mentioned, without being able to open up that quad wall, the site should be pretty comfortable to play in here, and this is where you might see some variation from SSG as the rounds progress.
5 versus 4 then, 1 minute 30 left to go. We can see SSG just moving things around a little bit. Bosco getting himself back out of that kitchen window, just looking with his IQ gadget to try and pick up any more electronics, potentially Valkyrie cameras. There is, of course, the alibi decoys as well, the ADSs, all sorts of bits and pieces that he could pick himself up on that scanner. So ThinkingNade back up to the rooftop. Fultz along with him this time around. We've got Canadian low health, diffuser in hand. He's just going to be waiting for his opportunity now. The likelihood is that Fultz has the shotgun in hand, which he does as his secondary, so that's going to allow him to open up the hatch down into the penthouse bathroom, and he can look to push in there. But the penthouse extension is in place from MIBR here. The decoy going in for the alibi there, just to maybe try and bait a little bit of fire, and those little red pings that come out when they get shot give a bit of information. But Fultz, he thinks better of it. He's not going to drop the hatch. He's looking instead to get onto that hooker balcony and just make life difficult for MIBR.
There we go, the trade coming back. Canadian. Down he goes to Fultz, 4 versus 4. Wraps down elsewhere at the same time, mind you. That EE1D sang out. They still have one more remaining here that they're going to want to be using. Diffuser picked up by the line as well. Just screams to me that it's time to start thinking about that execute. Calling the EE1D, make the play happen, but they know that there's 2 playing out on the south balcony now. They should be able to go for the contest. Lies down on the ground. The IQ steps in, but he loses a crucial shot onto the opposite man, and Bosco find the kill. Falls dropping down. Plants coming in. 4 versus 1. Kid, you're gonna go crazy, but Fultz gets a double with the ITA. What is this?
Fultz does what he wants. He's on the jackal. He moves in and he gets himself 2 on the secondary, and that just shows, Des.
Whoa. Not just the secondary. The ITA. That is not an operating killing weapon. What is that?
Well, I think Fultz would beg to differ with you on that one, picking himself up a nice double. What I like there, Des, was the split push from SSG coming in. We had that attention to Aquarium. They got themselves established. From me, I think it was Fultz on the alibi. He's got to get that kill when he drops prone. He just misses a couple of shots there, and that really just opens the floodgates for SSG, because then they can move in and start getting the diffuser down. And you saw from that point, it was like dominoes. MIBR just went down one after another, and ultimately left that Jaeger in a very, very difficult position. And that position was Fultz just absolutely storming towards him with the ITA in hand.
Alrighty, well, a small 6-pick coming in here. I was going to say seeing the Ash and the Zofia coming out at the same time would be a little bit different for SSG, and they have indeed changed that Zofia away to be the Capitao. Everything else staying as is. And MIBR kind of reading into that and saying, well, we're not expecting them to make any big changes to what we just saw. Let's bring along the Echo here. Imagine there won't be an IQ. We can hope for the best on this one. They could be massive later into the round. We touched on this, I think, a couple of days ago. The number of times in Stage 1, especially in EU, that we saw teams just ruining each other's lives with the Echo drone in the late round, especially on maps like Cafe that also bled across to APAC a little bit. Probably think I'm ahead of 4 or 5 key interrupts as the plant was going down in the kitchen site.
So we're going to be in Blue Bar and Sunrise this time around. We can see Raps is at the complete opposite end of the map on that Echo. It may well be that he's out there to waste a little bit of time. For me, I think he's going to try and get himself back to a slightly more safe location, because of course the Yokai drones we know are at their most powerful in the late round, but not invisible on the rooftop anymore, so he also needs to be careful about exactly where he places them, because it makes them much easier to pick up for the attackers and to shoot out and take out. So now then, there are 2 options realistically here for SSG, Des. If we look beyond the sort of stock top floor vertical control that we will likely see them try to gain, at least in some shape or fashion. There's a north side or a south sided push, so the south side would take them in through office, the north side would take them in through the door in front of you there, which is the pool entrance. So you can either try and get your bomb down basically in the top left of your screen or behind the blue bar at the bottom. But they've got men to clear out of office, they've got men to clear out of security, they've got men to clear out of almost everywhere at the minute.
I'm looking mainly, to be honest, towards Bosco and Fultz. Given the number of smokes that we're going to have between them here, of course, the smoke bolts as well as the smoke grenades themselves, they could use that to cut off a lot of angles coming in towards these sites and then going for the push and the execute off the back of that. The firebolts, as we so often see being brought, well, not so often, but by a few teams, I suppose we could say, brought along on something like Clubhouse to help clear Catwalk. Keeping a close eye here on where they're going to use these bolts. If he dies early on, that is going to be so much critical utility, because the slightly tighter map that is Coastline really benefiting from the AoE that's delivered by those bolts.
Fultz making a lot of use of the Inox scanner there, keeping it active at all times. What that will do will show footprints on the floor if anybody has walked there of the defenders recently. Now, they will be colour-coded depending on how new they are, from green to red, where red is brand new and green is quite old. And it just gives an idea. He can also scan them and it'll give a red ping, an active ping on that location. Now, Canadian, he finds a kill onto Fultz. Fultz trades it out, however, with a nitro onto Fultz. So 4 versus 4, and very much the same as we've seen in a lot of rounds so far, Des, and that is kills being traded back and forward. It's quite often the way that as soon as somebody gets that opener, another one will follow shortly after. Now, Bosco and Canadian, they're looking to get themselves into that position that I described to begin with, near the B-bomb. So it's the north-sided push. They'll try and just get straight inside of the door there to get that diffuser down. Now, Fultz gets locked in place by the EE1D scanner of Lion, but he won't mind that because that's exactly where he wants to play, on the tight angle with the shotgun. But he tries to relocate Des and get shut down by Canadian. He is alert to the movement and his reflexes prove superior, and we see exactly why he was relocating there. That is great use of those asphyxiating bolts from Bosco that just caused Fultz to have to move. Canadian team ready for it now then. Redux, do they know he's coming, Des? I don't think they do. In he comes!
Yokai! Should be able to get the plant going back down again. Yes, he does. Can it interrupt a second? I imagine they've killed it off, and Raps has to come away. Unfortunately, his hand forced by the plant coming in a few seconds earlier than would have been nice for the Yokai to interrupt. It was pushing in through the smoke. The spray through the soft wall misses a man by a couple of pixels, and Rampy goes on, make you pay for that one. Puts him in the dirt, and SSG take round number 8.
Bosco's cover was absolutely essential in that round.
Yeah.
There's Redux just looking to pop around the corner and spoil the party. Here we have it on the replay. Look, he even looks at the man. He looks right at him planting, but he doesn't pull the trigger. He's not ADS'd. He's not really ready for it, Des. For me, in that situation, and this is, I understand that this is being very critical of Redux there. He's in a difficult situation. However, think about the information that he's got. He can hear the diffuser going down on the ground. He knows that the plant is being activated. It is almost always uptight against the bomb chassis, uptight against that wall. He's not ADS'd, and he doesn't pre-fire it, and because of that he loses his life to Bosco. Now the likelihood is that yes, maybe he gets the kill onto Canadian, stops the plant going down, Bosco trades it out, picks up the diffuser, but at least you're in a different situation there. Your Yokai drone is then stopping Bosco from planting, and who knows, maybe the Yokai drone doesn't get taken out that time. It's all very different from there on in.
What's happened? I think he's just done something to his gear. I'm not sure, but they just said it happened at the last invite. He spilt water.
We've got a water spill.
Fantastic. Of course it's Canadian. Do you think he's getting a little bit pumped up in these rounds?
I was just going to say, I think that might be excitement just kicking in there, and the water's gone, so we have to get it dried up. We'll be back into this game as soon as we can be, but of course we've got to make sure that the players are comfortable and get
dry, ideally.
Dry, equipment is working, you know, all those sorts of things that come with a water spill, just to make sure that we're good to continue. It looks like the timer has kicked back up, so fortunately no harm done for SSG there. They level things up 4-4, and you can understand where that excitement might be coming from, Des. It was a big round.
Do you remember last year there was a clip of it that went around on social media where he was, I think he won the 1 versus 1, and he was going for the diffuse and he knocked the Windows key, and so it stopped the diffuse, yeah. And he was sat there looking all kind of befuddled with himself, and then turned to see, damn Windows key, man, what the hell? And I was like, yeah, damn straight. Oh, there were so many glorious clips out of it last year. I'm dying that when we get to playoffs next week and we have the teams all in the same room with us as well, we're going to see some excellent footage coming out of that one, because it's not a real SI without him going off and screaming at something, is it?
I mean, we've got to experience it at some point, haven't we? We've got to experience it.
I mean, Lycan reckons it's not until you've been bodied by Nest that you've really experienced an international event. You haven't experienced an SI until Canadians screaming the roof down.
That's exactly it. Until you've had one of the Canadian put-downs. You know, that's for me another one of those rite of passages, surely.
It's like its own Hall of Fame list there. If you've been put down by a Canadian at a LAN, you know you're on that list somewhere.
That's it, you're going in there. If you've been, you know, if your entire team's been put in the dirt by an ESC, then you're up there, you're going for it.
A few separate lists for certain happenings. Anyway, let's see how the list or the schedule or the group standings can change based on the outcome of this game. Of course, we are talking about SSG being at 1-1, tied up with teams like Parabellum, who we saw win their game earlier on. Giants also in a similar spot, so this win means an awful lot to them. They do play against Parabellum next, mind you, so even if they lose this game, then that next game, it might be okay. I just hate to be the guy who sits here now and curses it, saying that SSG play Parabellum, and Parabellum come out and do what they did last game.
Well, the pressure's really on at that point, isn't it? As you say, Parabellum have got their first win, and they've shown capability to do so against NIP, another very good team. So then, if SSG lose here, and like you say, go in there, they've only got 1 win to their name, Parabellum win, all of a sudden, Parabellum are on 3 wins and SSG on 1. And that's before you're coming into the final day. That is not an easy situation to recover. So SSG will be keen, of course, to take this and every other game they can over the line, but there's certainly no certainties here other than uncertainties.
The only certainty is uncertainty. Yes, good little line, I think, to keep for SI, given how the results have gone today, and no doubt, hopefully we'll get more of that. Unfortunate to kill your own drone there, admittedly, with the breach and Rampy. A little bit of mistiming, one might argue, but hey, it's okay. The round is still progressing. It's still, I don't want to say early, we are 90 seconds in. And I'm looking towards, again, the EE1Ds. The lineup coming out of SSG has reverted back to the Ashe and the Zofia here, dropping that Capitao away. And I think once we saw that Capitao come out, you started to understand the reasoning for the Wamai ban that came through from them.
Bosco on the upside down rappel. It's interesting at the minute, SSG almost, they're starting to spread out a little bit now, but a moment ago we just had them completely just encircling that corner of the hooker room. Now Bosco, his patience pays off as he finds the opener onto Reduct, and this time let's see if SSG can just keep themselves alive and not give up that trade at any point, keep that man advantage on. Canadian, he's in a position to start thinking about getting inside for the diffuser to go down, but they need to deal with Fultz first. As we can see, 1 toxic babe canister has been used ahead of him, but there are 2 more to go. But SSG have got plenty of time here. Look at that utility sink, just one after another piece of throwable utility coming in. Canadian gets inside, and the diffuser's going down. There's no challenge possible here, Des. Out goes the smoke canister, and that kill is important, but might not matter with the diffuser down.
I'm really confused as to why the wall coming up from Cool Vibes straight to the right is reinforced. That's normally left soft to stop this sort of thing happening, but they've got away with it. MIBR in a commanding position. They are coming back, and the diffuser's coming in. They even get the second kill down. Down goes Nade. They will be able to save the round, but again, question marks. That's why that exact wall that Medics just showed you on your screen was reinforced. That whole situation could have been prevented.
Exactly. The Canadians planting there. You just pop up, get the kill, take him off the diffuser. But SSG doing well to recognise that opportunity, get in and take advantage of it, and gets control underneath as well to prevent any sort of vertical denial. And the way that they forced Fultz away on the smoke was again textbook. It was you saw all that throwable utility just coming in tandem and just forcing him away from there. But it's as if MIBR, Des, I don't know if what we've just seen there is like a sort of a bluff within a bluff. It's almost like, yeah, we're going to reinforce that wall because you're going to recognise that and come in and plant there, and that's exactly what we're prepared for. And it was as if that retake was just built around that happening to begin with. That
could be the 200 IQ play. For all we know, we don't know what's going on in the conversations behind the scenes, but maybe you read into it, like you say, in SSG, you assume we'll make a play like that. They're going to change up the Jackal here, I think, after not seeing tons of success for it in terms of roam clear, because they've been struggling to get into the building in some cases here. The aggression being shown by MIBR working out wonders, so opts instead to bring along this IQ, hopefully to deal with those evil eyes coming out of Reduct.
Kitchen and service.
Evil eyes, black eyes.
Kitchen and...
Too many eyes.
Too many eyes going on here. Kitchen and service will be our site of choice this time in round number 10. MIBR looking to get themselves onto that magic number 6, the match point opportunity, and they will have 2 opportunities to close it out if they can do that here and now. Reduct, he's just moving around from the top floor, so I'd suggest there's maybe a camera or 2 up there. Just to again feed information in, try to help those top floor roamers. He's got 1 left in pocket, so I would suggest that both of them have probably been applied up on the top floor, possibly externally, just to again try and provide a little bit of intel as to where the push is coming from. Now, Penthouse and Theatre has been set up once again, Des. A lot of utility this time. I'm just counting it up as we go. That's what the pause in my voice was about. We've got 2 ADSs, 2 Goyo shields, we've got reinforcements. We've got about 30 or 40% of the team's utility up there.
Look, it's waste time. It's one of the maps where I was almost catching Rampy out there as well. Actually, a bit of chip damage down onto the shoulder, but not enough to finish him off. It's one of those where I think on this map, it's not a super large map like a Villa, for example, where an extension really makes a ton of sense. It's such a small map, this kind of donut of death is what we like to call it sometimes as a joke in Europe. It's just because once you clear out the utility, you're basically staring at the site. There isn't really all that much more ground to cover. There's no second line of defense. You're basically staring straight at the site itself here, although it makes sense because you can only load so many Goyo shields into a site, right? People would have you believe that? but it's in pictures of people stacking up 3 Goyo shields, 2 normal shields inside of a site, and it's just like, okay, not in pro play, I'll say that much.
No, we don't tend to see it
No.
go to those levels here too often. But interesting camp from Reed up there, just in the courtyard, feeding again information back into his team. We've got the push coming in from MIBR, looking to get themselves into office and security. Attacking, of course, onto it's SSG, of course, attacking onto kitchen and service. So MIBR just rotating their way as defenders, as I say, into security and office. And again, just trying to force SSG back and not allow them to get that sort of control. They're going to move instead into Sunrise this time. Look to get those long angles all the way through into kitchen. Bosco just going to surpass the kitchen window there. He's heading for the service door instead.
Bit of a rotator Reno coming around here, looking out maybe towards service or even towards the main lounge itself. You got a couple coming in from kitchen. The smoke comes out as well to stop those longer angles coming up from luggage, and now the press goes in. The smoke grenades are down as well, but Rampy is charging his way through. He needs to win these crucial gunfights. Sees one or knows one's behind the reinforcement, but he's got to find him. Oh, and he wins it out. They've been completely shut down. It looked like a rush was coming through, but MIBR put SSG in the dirt. It's 6-4, and things are looking grim if you're SSG.
Certainly are right now, and as we said only a couple of rounds ago, as this starts to pile the pressure on the Parabellum matchup that comes after this one, MIBR, they just look happy at the minute. They are absolutely flying right now, 6-4, and as you say, it's going to take them one more round to close this out and to put another win on the board, and what a day that'll be for them, coming in with fixtures against NIP and SSG, and knowing that that is your day. You know that's going to be a tough day, and if MIBR walk away with 2 wins, they are going to be absolutely ecstatic.
No surprise that all the SSG choose now, not for a technical timeout. There has been no water spilt, but instead for a tactical timeout in this case. It is 6-4. There are conversations, no doubt, that Lycan wants to have with the team to try and save his team from losing out in this game and being 1-2. And again, going up against Parabellum. If Parabellum win, they'll have the better win-loss ratio and the head-to-head against SSG. And I never thought that we'd be even considering that SSG might find themselves knocked out in the group stage here. But it's absolutely a possibility given how crazy this group's going.
Certainly is. Now, I'm just looking through the opening kills, Des, and interestingly, we've got,
in fact, 3 plus 3 to
split
SSG.
at the minute. 5 versus 4 in favour of SSG. They're coming in at the minute. But they're just not really taking advantage of it too often. They've had 3 in a row for 7, 8 and 9. But MIBR have just been able to overrun them, really.
This is the thing, and we spoke about Cloud9 an awful lot on the broadcast yesterday as a team that is now currently plus 29 in entry. The same stats that SSG had from NAL Stage 1. They were the best coming into the competition. Cloud9 have got the same here in 3 or 4 games, but are still at a spot where if they don't buck up their ideas, they're going to keep on losing rounds as things progress. It's all good getting the opener, but it's then what you do with that advantage. I believe the stat that you peddled yesterday was 2/3 of rounds are won where you find the entry kill.
Yeah.
A couple of teams that are definitely skewing that downwards, and it's starting to feel like SSG might be one of them.
Certainly are starting to ruin my numbers. There's usually...
Wait, whoa. We're going to get screened up by Jess in chat again if we don't talk about this. Look at the site we're on.
Fantastic Theatre. It's a site that we do see occasionally in LATAM. We haven't seen it from MIBR themselves, but it's a site that they're certainly not scared of playing. I will go as far as to say that. Now, it's one of those sites that it is a bit of a gamble, Des, because you've got to think about the fact that attacking teams don't play here often either. So knowing what to expect coming in, knowing all the setups that you're likely to deal with coming into, where the utility's going to be placed, it's not easy for them by any means. Now, we saw it less than I thought in LATAM in Stage 1. I think we saw it a few times last year, but in Stage 1 we saw it only one time. It was won by the defenders. It wasn't MIBR, but it's an interesting site to say the least.
I remember there is a team in Europe that plays this site. It's Tempera, or Old Tempera, I guess, now that the team has been kind of scattered to the winds and Train Hard are now present in the division. They used to play a strategy whereby you open seemingly everything on the top floor. You create these ridiculously long sight lines that makes it really awkward because you just don't know in what room, at what angle, there's going to be someone stood waiting to contest you. And I think here with the whole reinforcements coming up by MIBR, it's not quite the same. It's definitely more of a lockdown style strategy, starting to feel a bit like a ranked game with all these walls being reinforced up, something we're very, very used to seeing in this case. But there's also this kind of hold on 90 where no one's playing right now, but the Alibi is definitely sitting there as a tester.
Interesting position from Fleepox taken up there underneath the blue bar window. So keep an eye on for Fleepox and just exactly what happens as the round plays out. He's going to move for the time being, get himself back through office, heading towards security and main lobby. But we'll see how far he pushes forward for the time being. Now, Lukid, he's playing in behind those mirrors inside of theatre side, just looking to hold out any push from double window or bathroom. SSG have pretty much already got control of penthouse stairs. They don't have boots on the ground in there, but just by having that double window repel, it pretty much means that the defenders are stuck outside of half of the site.
Hope the Capitale can do something more here as well. I mean, they banned away the Ramai explicitly for this, and no doubt this site probably isn't one that you prep for looking at it. You don't expect that in the potential do-or-die round for MIBR. It isn't quite do-or-die, but they win this one. They win the match overall, that they will go to this site and try and do something this crazy. Fleepox taking a couple of trades inside of lobby. You've also got Redux holding out towards kitchen. So this downstairs starting hold coming out from MIBR, I think, is to prevent the vertical play from below rather than above coming out from SSG, getting that control, pushing the defenders back, and then going for a plant.
SSG haven't really got a handle on these downstairs roamers for the time being. Rampy just chasing shadows, it seems. We've got Fleepox has moved himself back into blue bar, if I'm not mistaken there. It looked like the silhouette of Valkyrie. It is indeed Fleepox. He's taken half health damage, but he's still looking to pressure them. He's taken a couple of stun grenades there, so SSG will know where he is, but with 25 seconds left to go, they need to think about exactly what they are doing, which is getting the diffuser down, and importantly, they have secured underneath. Rampy is down there in service, so there will be no vertical denial here. ThinkingNade opens things up with one onto Redux. Diffuser's down, and things are looking quite good for SSG at the minute. They've got a man on repel, they've got 2 down, and 2 left to go.
Well attacked by SSG so far. 5 versus 2, make it a 5 versus 1. This could be a flawless round. Stepping in here as Lukid, the only one left alive to try and make anything happen, and there's no way on God's earth that he kills 5 people and gets the defuse off. Really good by SSG, I think, to not chase around on the ground floor. Instead, they force the members away, hold the ground below so no C4s can come singing up, and then plant in the corner that is hard reinforced. There is nothing that MIBR can do except watch on as that plant goes down, or in this case, they can't watch on because the whole thing was smoked out. They crack that defense wide open, and MIBR's gambit has not paid off. We go to the last round of regular time, round number 12, to see if this goes through to overtime or if MIBR walk away the winner.
Felt completely inevitable once that diffuser had gone down. You could see that SSG just did a fantastic job of surrounding the site. They had vertical pressure, they had basically every angle covered that could possibly be imagined once that diffuser had gone down. And for me, Des, I'm looking at the 2 MIBR roamers that we had downstairs there. I don't think that they made a big enough impact. Canadian felt more than safe to go in and get that diffuser down because he knew that he had Rampy underneath him, and they just hadn't done enough to disrupt that SSG attack to prevent that being the case and to have any opportunity to get a vertical denial on there. They needed to be able to get into service just on the far side of the kitchen door, just into service. That's the strip where that wall is, and you hit that with the nitro to stop Canadian putting the diffuser down, but there was just no way possible with Rampy underneath.
No, absolutely not. And in case you can't see on your screen, MIBR are calling the tactical timeout. Immediately the round after, SSG had called theirs. So although their kind of gambit didn't pay off, I think here it's a conversation of, right, we've got one more chance to make this work. Otherwise, it's going to be 3 more rounds in overtime. This is the time we've got to make it work. Are we going for something wild? Are we playing more, I suppose, standard, what we've played so far that's got us a couple of rounds along the way? Because as it sits, SSG have found 3 attacking rounds, and win this next one, it's the 4th, and overtime is guaranteed. The odds are stacked somewhat against MIBR, I'd say. So we're going to have to see something spicy come out here if they're going to be able to keep the other side guessing.
We are, and it's fascinating. I'm just looking at the sort of current updated stats that we've got for this game so far, Des. Looking at the players, you've got the leaderboard there in front of you, but we're fortunate enough to have some updated ratings and cost ratings and things like that. And at the minute, to say that we're only 1 round different, MIBR are outstripping SSG in terms of the stats. They really are. We've got Fleepox up there on sort of a 91% cost, a 1.5 rating, and Rampy is the top placed player on the side of SSG. This will more than likely just be a minute or 2 behind, so it may be after the last round, but still, it is a big difference that we're seeing out of the sort of the rankings between MIBR and SSG. So it really goes to show that SSG are doing the most they can with what they're finding in terms of kills. They really are squeezing every drop of value out of what they're doing here.
Stepping back onto this Capitale again. I think once they've had the Ying taken away, they've kind of brought out the second. It's like in a movie where you destroy what's the primary villain's weapon. You're like, yes, we've done it. And then a cannon that's twice the size appears out of nowhere and you're like, ah, crap. That's what it's come down to, because the Ying was great, but the use of thing in that last round of the Capitao, it orchestrated everything. The double smoke coming out into the connector between Theatre and Penthouse. They had the firebolts going through, so no one, if they felt a little bit bolshy, could just run through the smoke and hope for the best. They were well and truly trapped with nothing to do, whilst Canadian got that plant down super comfortably. So I like what they've done with the Capitao. Now it's seeing how they can orchestrate it coming into this push. We have seen them bring it along here once before, so I'm thinking, if you're going to make it work, boys, like, you got it right last time round. Why change anything up?
Rampy on the book, Des, name a more iconic duo. He's got himself in underneath once again. They were completely unable to deal with him last time around. He just kept himself wedged in service and did everything that his team needed to facilitate that diffuser going down on the ground. This time he's underneath and he's opening up those vertical angles once again. It's something that MIBR, they need to deal with. They need to hassle him. Look, he's here. He's in the pool entrance. He's going to open the floor up now, and that is going to give the opportunity. This is exactly pretty much the same as they set up last time to get the diffuser down. We saw all this attention to the northwest corner before they spread out and then look to get the diffuser in on site. They, of course, have to control Cool Vibe Stairs this time because the wall, Des, it's been opened.
At least there's some presence of mind to have it opened up this time around, yeah. I mean, like you say, last time maybe around it was a big bait and it did work out wonders for them. I think back to the defense for SSG on this side as well, when you had Nade sat at the top of the stairs, a double kill coming out. Might have to be a similar setup here. In fact, here we go. They're already pulling the trigger quite early with about 80 seconds left. The fire at the top of Vars, no one can push in for that one. There's still two at the bottom of stairs and you've got Fultz hanging in the smoke. He has just shut down that push entirely because he's pushed in so aggressively. The Capitao still has the one firebolt left, so they can have another go at the cherry if they want, but I'm just thinking, is that going to be enough given Fultz has still got one smoke canister left?
That's well played from Fultz. As you say, he's just burnt about 20 seconds, but it's not just those 20 seconds that he's taken away from. I tell you what, he's just dicing effort at the minute, isn't he? Look at him.
Stop.
He doesn't care, Des. He's just running through fire at the minute, and then he's running back again. Rampy does find that kill, and that is essential for SSG here. That opens up the plant spot for them. They have control of Cool Vibe Stairs. They now need to hold the rest of MIBR at bay whilst they get in and get that diffuser down. Here it comes. Bosco has it in hand and he is going to start, but Raps, he finds a wonderful nitro through. Lukid with a kill on to ThinkingNade as well. Fultz has diffuser in hand, but he's had to dip away. He goes big and finds kills instead. 18 seconds left and work to be done on both sides here as Fultz once again steps inside, tries to get that diffuser down. Can any challenge be made with Rampy here on Cool Vibe Stairs? Yes, it can, but we find ourselves 1 versus 2. It's all down to Felipox and Fultz.
He gets the head
again. Does he find him? But no! Fultz with the kill on the hooker door. That is the sort of round that I can't take many more of, Des, to take us to overtime.
Fultz with a massive 3K, the first 2K to step in, recovering the diffuser from the fallen teammate in Bosco and winning the final 1v1. That's the moment you're looking for in so many players here at the 6th Invitational that can step up and go big, because if that shot had gone wrong, if he'd missed a couple of those bullets, this would have been SSG staring down the barrel of a loss, going into a game against Parabellum that suddenly becomes of paramount importance for them to win. Instead, we get 3 more rounds. SSG start on the attack, and both teams have taken 4 attacking rounds so far. This could shape up pretty well for the American side.
Advantage SSG, that much is for sure. That last round was just absolute chaos there. So SSG just teasing us, just toying with us there. Coming in, we're going to put the diffuser down. No, we're going to dip away. We're going to get a couple of kills. Right, we're putting it down. No more kills coming in. It was absolute madness toward the end there. Very difficult to keep track of, but they are the sort of rounds that we love. So heading into the first round of overtime, we are 6-all on the scoreboard, and this now comes down to a best of 3 rounds. So the first one of these 2 teams to win 2 rounds, they will be the winner, and they will take the point on to the leaderboard. We're going to be going to kitchen and service. Now then, let's have a look back and we'll see just exactly what happened last time MIBR defended here. And we saw it in round 10, Des. We saw it in round 10, and it was an MIBR win.
What's that telling you? Where you leaning?
SSG.
You predicted MIBR, didn't you?
I did predict MIBR, but I think what we've seen over the last couple of rounds, I think SSG have got some serious momentum here, Des. We've got Fultz and Rampy particularly are hitting shots, and that is a dangerous thing.
I love how each game we're seeing a different member of MIBR really pop, by the way.
Honestly, it's constant. It's all the time.
Yeah. We had Lukid doing some wonders against TSM, sadly not enough to get any real meaningful traction in that game. Falls, top-rated player in the stage. Reduck was like 14 and 6 earlier on in Oregon, and now it's Fultz going 14 and 7. Always good to see it isn't turning into a one-man army for any given team. Maybe that's a question of a couple of others in the competition. Looking towards G2 a little bit there with that sort of statement when Citizen has been going massive for them, but others still need to do the work. On the other side of SSG, mind you, quite a let's just say a relatively even spread. It's Rampy and Fultz currently holding up the fort at 10 kills each, but the next closest one is Canadian on 7, then 6 and 6 down the side. So in terms of the split across that team, no big hero player stepping up just yet, although Fultz may have found his motivation after that previous round. In comes the push, and Fultz is there to meet, immediately traded out. And Rampy, down by Rapsu, scurries away back into the nest, doesn't want to be caught out anymore. And from above, they're coming out the walls at this point, Tim. Everyone wants to go at them.
There is no safe space for SSG right now. They have just tried to push aggressively into office, and they have paid dearly for it. Fultz will be more than happy to trade his life for the 2 that went along with it. Not only was it 2, Des, not only was it 2, I picked up 2 SSG players coming into this that were hitting their shots and made me feel like they had an advantage. It was Fultz, it was Rampy, and both of them have just lost their lives in the first minute and a half.
That's in office, the other side of the map to the site itself. This is a kitchen and service defense. In case you missed that one, you'd probably be thinking it was an office setup. I know there's not a bomb site there, but the boys may as well be playing Apocalypse and have moved it around somewhere. Rapsko bringing down Bosco, 4 versus 2. It feels like MIBR should be able to push this one up to match point. 7 and 6 is how it will square up, unless we can see something magic coming out of Nade and Canadian.
We've seen it before, to be fair, but it really is going to take a monumental effort here. They're both in the same location. I am sure that MIBR are aware of exactly where that is. ThinkingNade, he manages to find the first. 2 versus 3, still a slight advantage to MIBR, given especially now that they know exactly where this push is going to come from, and it is a single door, it's a funnel, Des. They've got to move in through the same space, the 2 of them. ThinkingNade, he's looking for a rotation, aware of the hatch potentially, but he's looking the wrong way as it's Raps at the bottom of main stairs, who will start to apply some pressure. 12 seconds left to go, and an awful lot of work for SSG to do here. The kill so close onto Raps, but no, he manages to somehow find both with the pistol. Unbelievable play from Raps there. Second kill coming in on the long range. Look at that, just flips it over to the pistol. There it is onto Canadian, no problem at all. And MIBR, they lock down that first overtime round. We've got a maximum of 2 rounds left to go, and SSG, Des, they need to win both of them.
I think the audio got getting a bit excited behind the scenes there, thinking that was the grand round ending. Not quite, boys. It's a best of 3. It's not yet over for MIBR. They're not yet in total jubilance. For SSG, though, backs against the wall. We've mentioned it a few times. They play Parabellum in their next game. Both will have identical records. If SSG come out the loser of that game, suddenly you start becoming very, very concerned, because imagine the story that would tell. Canadian returns to defend his world title and gets knocked out in groups. Talk about an anticlimax, Tim.
Well, it's a long way off yet, Des.
It is, but it's fun to imagine.
It's a long way. I'll let you throw about the word fun.
The fun is really found in Reaper's tears, mate.
I was going to say, I'll let you band about the word fun when NA come for you.
They already had them throw it a few times this SI, I think, case. It won't slow down anytime soon. But in all seriousness, I think everyone really wants to see SSG make it to the final. Not so much because you look at them and say they're the best team here, but what it means for the story, for Canadian to make that.
Stage.
Exactly. Oh.
Of course we do.
You can picture it now. It would be incredible, but of course there are another 17 teams here at SI that are all showing perfect capability to be one of the 2 teams stood on that stage. Even Parabellum with the surprise that they had in their previous fixture, and Giants starting to stage their fight back too. Let's see how round number 14 plays out though in terms of what's being brought along. No massive surprises. Fultz on the Aruni. Those laser gates, Ace. Talk to me about them.
Well,
tell me about the laser gates, mate. Come on, I want to hear it.
The Surya gates?
No, the laser gates, mate.
Surya gates. So, Fultz Aruni, There we go. I just love how the names tag together. I've said this before. That's how he's going to be known throughout this round. Fultz Rooney. I've not seen Des where he's actually placed his laser gates. We will see as we can. I know there's been a lot of attempts to replicate my accent. With
Kix has never called them laser gates before. And yesterday, Intero tried, and he was like,
I know
the laser gates, and I was like, no, it's laser gates. And I tried to DM him on how to say it, and I was like, even I can't describe this.
Demo's been trying as well. Everybody's been giving it their best effort, but nobody comes quite close to
everyone just really wants to be mocked by me, I think, is the way.
I think that's probably what it comes down to. That's probably what it comes down to. We'll see whether those laser gates do play an important part here in the round. They can, of course, be vital come the last 20-30 seconds if they are not burnt and players have to try and move in through them, take the damage penalty. It can be an absolute nightmare. But we have to remember they work both ways, and they can be a little bit of a hindrance for the defenders as well. We saw it very well yesterday in the G2 game. When a defender approaches those laser gates, they do drop. So what it does tell the attackers is that they're about to be challenged because somebody is approaching the door to move through it. So the defenders do need to be careful of their use of the gates and their movement around them.
They've got control of what they need. Oh, what is this from Fultz? Crawling around on his belly like a snake, getting upstairs with the Aruni and using it to open up these holes in the floor. I like it. Doesn't rely on a shotgun from a mute or a smoke or even Canadian with the secondary, for example. You can just turn and do those things yourself. Very, very versatile operator. Unfortunately, means that you are committed to the duty of transforming the site for your team, opening up a good number of rotates, especially when there's only a single shotgun on the side, which there isn't here. So he's off on the roam instead. If he has a big impact here, doesn't concede this vertical control to the members of MIBR, and I assume they're looking for that given they have the sledge on side, he could be pivotal. And drops down.
Really
let's go!
He finds himself one with a beautiful rotation using that melee punch ability, but the other important factor here, Des, is he's opened up the courtyard again, and MIBR were trying to get into plan behind the blue bar, and this is just an absolute nightmare for the Brazilians right now as SSG come into that round like a whirlwind, Des. I'm pretty sure all 5 kills were inside of about 10 seconds there, and there was nothing MIBR could do to stop them. We're going to 15!
Christ, boys, they've got families back home. Settle down. That was an absolute slaughter. And then when Fultz drops down and gets the kill into office, you've then got Rampy up above, stepping into luggage and stepping up on the elevation to kill Redux inside of the courtyard. The rest walk into 2 or 3 crossfires. One has to step in through the laser gates, then be shot by 3 cross angles. A little bit scrappy by MIBR, but you'll give it to SSG for initiating some excellent plays there with those long-range angles. 15 kills now being highlighted by Medics 4 for Leapox. Stepping up still, admittedly, but after a flawless round, the highlight definitely sits on the side of SSG. We're seeing that Capital being brought along once again, and an interesting change coming out for Lukid here. Stepping instead to playing with the Warden and SSG. That's an even bigger change for me for the first round, bringing along a hard breacher here on Coastline in round number 15.
Not just the hard breach, but the choice of the ace as well. As we said, we've not seen much ace play at all here at the Invitational so far. Since he lost those smoke grenades, it's been all thermite. Thermite is all we could talk about. And this time we'll see what ThinkingNade does with that alternative breaching option. And of course, Lukid on the Warden as well is another interesting one to watch out for, because it's not the defender that we see too much of. If you're not familiar with Warden, he's got himself some special glasses there. They're like sort of secret agent glasses. And if there's
the kind of glasses that you want to buy as a kid that cost like £2. You press a button and they light up all blue and you're like, oh, look at me.
Except these ones work and they can see through smoke. They can see through smoke and they can clear flash effects, and there's there is a penalty for movement as well in there. But interesting operator is Warden, and one that we don't see too much of.
I think the reason here, by the way, why we've gone to Sunrise and Blue, there may be a few asking questions of why here. This isn't the most common site. What are we doing? You're right. MIBR played hookah billiards 3 times on their defensive half. They lost it twice. So imagine in their mind they're saying, well, look, the odds aren't stacking up well against us. We weren't all that comfortable with how things rounded out in round number 12, even though it took some heroic efforts coming out of Fultz with the 3K. Here they're stepping in and saying, let's go for a bit of a surprise and head downstairs. Interestingly, did not successfully defend that in round number 8. That was Canadian's 3K that stuck in that round, and Bosco also got the diffuser down. So that we believe was the rushy round. I can't quite remember exactly. All these things blur into one at some point. But either way, with the change coming out for SSG, let's keep a close eye on ThinkingNade and see what it is that he's planning to open up.
Reduct out on the roam with the alibi now. Are SSG aware of him or not? They've certainly gone through a thorough drone-in phase there. Rampy is in VIP, but it's drone-in underneath him, and that could be a little bit of a concern. First of all, for the Warden, Lukid takes some big damage there, Des, but I'm not sure that Rampy is aware of Reduct's position here, because he wouldn't be so focused on the vertical angles just yet. He does manage to get himself a kill onto Lukid. If he can find Reduct now on the drone and make that lateral challenge and close the alibi down, then that is basically the round won by Rampy. As it is, he's going to jump himself out onto the DJ booth for the time being. It may well be that he rotates underneath. I think I see his silhouette dropping down towards kitchen window. So the pressure is really going to start mounting for MIBR now.
I think there's just no way in hell that that Warden should ever walk away alive. So Rampy completing the expected. Once he's pinned in against those shells, as soon as he tries to run out, he is in the open from those vertical angles, and the right step taken to commit for Rampy at the very least to blast him to high heaven as soon as he tried to retreat from his little hidey hole. That does now mean that the smokes coming out of Bosco are going to be all the more effective, as there is no Warden to peer through them. They'll have to rely on C4s or smokes to come out, for example. But as we get into the final 45 seconds, this is where you start saying to SSG, you've got the numbers advantage, but let's pick up the pace, boys, and think about that execute.
Epox moves into office. He's going to come up to a challenge head-to-head there, but manages to just get himself ducked away and into safety just in time. He's flipped to the shotgun, and he's going to look to hold this down at all costs now. With 30 seconds left to go. In come the flashbangs, full white. Surely he dies. They have to push him. ThinkingNade does and finds the kill. 5 versus 3. Bosco doubles down. Canadian as well. It's a team effort, Des, and it's a team effort to get it over the line, which is exactly what's going to happen as Fultz finds the final kill, and Space Station Gaming, they have their second win of the 6th Invitational 2021.